Thank you all for coming here today. So I will summarize a little bit what we heard today and just I will be addressing the international community in general so that we can take action. So the panelists have demonstrated that atrocity crimes are being committed against a targeted minority in the DRC. Lawyers and researchers have identified a pattern of persecution of that minority targeted because of its members' language, physiological characteristics, in conjunction with them being stigmatized as foreigners. These findings on hate speech and hate violence against the identified minority have been equally acknowledged by the UN Office on Genocide Prevention, the UN Group of Experts on DRC, and the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. These early warning signs by the international community must trigger our urgent global attention. So again, just to come back a little bit on this belief in the myth of a clash between, on the one hand, true or indigenous Congolese, and on the other hand, alleged foreign occupiers of the Congo, this is a direct result of the manipulation of the colonial borders by Europeans during the scramble of Africa in the 19th century. So separating members of the same communities into distinct national territories. So this is no longer debated. Thus, the current situation of persecution of the Banyamulenge, the Congolese Tutsi, and the Hema stems from the continuation of the colonial racist ideology, which sees this minority as an imagined group of invaders. Hence, interest-driven racist politics, while it serves a political purpose, is used to persecute and ethnically cleanse a targeted group of Congolese citizens. It is important to understand that everybody is at risk when genocide ideology is left unattended. So it is not just the communities that are here, it's all of us. A case in point is that we are missing on the opportunity to educate our children about genocide, about the danger of genocide denial, misinformation, and hate speech. For example, in less than half of the states in this country do we teach middle and high school students about Holocaust. And in those schools, teachers and students have at times never heard or they know very little about the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, despite its horrific occurrence. 1 million people killed in 100 days, 10,000 people murdered every day by one's neighbor's mother, husband, daughter, teacher, doctor, priest, etc. And despite how recently in our history this human tragedy has taken place. Another example is the 1995 genocide of Srebrenica in Bosnia that the children in our schools are not learning about. Missed educational opportunities in our schools are countless. Although we have voiced out the never again slogan, genocide around the world keeps reoccurring. History has shown, and we have learned it firsthand in 1994 in Rwanda, that we have been either too shy or too slow at taking action and preventing genocide, oftentimes as a result of our ignorance or prejudice. We cannot wait until bones of 1 million people are pulled out of graves to name the monster by its name and take action. Genocide ideology, which has taken roots in Eastern Congo and which is spreading through the diaspora, has its own history. It impacts the way here in the United States we conduct our foreign policy. It also impacts the way international institutions that we fund and influence, such as the United Nations, act with regards to peace and security in the Congo and the Great Lakes region. The conflict in Eastern Congo has lasted now for almost 3 decades. It began when several 100,000 genocide perpetrators and their families fled from Rwanda with massive stocks of weapons and ammunition to the Congo, where these genocide perpetrators subsequently started persecuting the Congolese Tutsi while continuing to persecute those across the border in Rwanda. This genocide ideology and ethnic cleansing mission has been breastfed for 3 decades to the children of genocide perpetrator and to the children of their children. We've recently seen images of children singing xenophobic songs against Congolese Tutsi in Congolese schools. We've seen viral images of small children brought to watch individuals being publicly lynched and burned alive, and the flesh of these individuals being eaten. This genocide ideology, unattended by the Congolese state and the international community for almost 3 decades, has spread throughout Europe and North America, creating an international constellation of hate ideology on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, feeding local radio stations and YouTube channels on a daily basis with direct and explicit messages of incitement to violence, ultimately leading to extreme forms of torture and killings of civilians in Eastern DRC. What is more, genocide perpetrators who have carried out the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, the residual Interahamwe or Hutu power fugitives, have been sheltered in DRC and elsewhere in the world, including here in the United States. This simple fact of having genocide perpetrators fugitives at large creates the occasion for a global-scale genocide ideology to spread. This group of génocidaires and their offspring, rebaptized in the Congo as FDLR, have become the primary destabilizing and most heavily armed group in Eastern Congo, with direct impact on the entire Great Lakes region. Supported militarily by the Congolese army, generating over $70 million in income per year from various illegal sources, including the collection of land use taxes from the Congolese Tutsi communities, FDLR, in coalition with other armed groups it shares income with, and anti-Tutsi ideology, represents the biggest threat to the Congolese Tutsi in Eastern Congo, as well as to the Rwandan people across the border. The explicit mission of FDLR and this anti-Tutsi armed group coalition is to continue the ethnic cleansing of the Tutsi wherever they are. This ongoing violence and the 3 decades-long genocide ideology has led to the mass internal displacement of several million people, including close to 100,000 refugees in Rwanda, with now over 100 Congolese refugees fleeing into Rwanda every day. As we have seen today, the ethnic cleansing operation undertaken by these groups is carried out either economically by depriving the Banyamulenge, the Congolese Tutsi, and the Hema of their modes of subsistence, including their land and cattle, by looting and destroying their businesses, burning their homes, their churches, but also by systematically attacking, torturing, and murdering them. This is happening as we speak in Ituri, in South and North Kivu, and other parts of Eastern Congo. A Congolese domestic system of accountability to bring these perpetrators to justice is absent. The National Army and police are complicit in these crimes, as on the one hand, they let these killings happen in broad daylight without intervention, and on the other hand, as documented here, by directly participating in the persecution and killings of the members of this minority. Additionally, we have raised the alarm about sexual violence as a weapon of war in the Congo for the last 20 years. All the UN reports since 2003 to 2021 have established that the Congolese National Army, FARDC, and the residual Interahamwe genocidal group, FDLR, are the principal and by far the largest group of perpetrators of sexual violence in the Congo. A long-lasting solution seems impossible to achieve due to the impunity enjoyed by sexual violence perpetrators in the Congo, which illustrates neglect of this critical issue and therefore the complicity of the Congolese government. Similarly, the future of victims of sexual violence in the Congo has been entrusted to a Congolese 2018 Nobel Peace Prize recipient who fails to attack the root causes of sexual violence by failing to denounce its perpetrators and putting pressure on his government to prosecute them. Although he has the status as a renowned public figure to do so. Sexual violence in the Congo has become a business opportunity for both domestic and foreign NGOs and an occasion to advance one's political career by spreading hate messages against Rwandophones, which is in direct contradiction to the symbolic image of the Nobel Peace Prize. This is not the first time a Nobel Peace Prize is conferred to an individual spreading hate or neglecting to prevent genocide against her own people, like we've seen in Myanmar. Thus, history repeats itself and lessons are not being learned. Now, the international community must re-engage in practice its commitment to peace and security by addressing the root causes of violence and hate in DRC. The international community, via international institutions, has the responsibility to protect innocent people from hate, persecution, and genocide. While we have the largest and most expensive UN peacekeeping operation in place in the Congo today, and it has been there for 2 decades, witnessing these crimes being committed. While we have denounced these atrocity crimes through UN expert reports, UN Office on Genocide Prevention, Office of the United Nations Commissioner for Human Rights, atrocity prevention organizations, civil society groups, and researchers, the Banyamulenge, the Congolese Tutsi, and the Hema are abandoned to their own fate, being slowly led to extinction. We therefore call on the United Nations to honor their responsibility to protect the targeted communities by initiating appropriate channels of investigation of atrocity crimes being committed in DRC, by creating an international commission of inquiry and appointing a special rapporteur. We urge the international community through the International Criminal Court to bring the perpetrators of atrocity crimes in DRC to justice in the identifiable absence of a domestic system of accountability and the ongoing denial of the Congolese government despite evidence of atrocity crimes. In 2004, an International Commission of Inquiry on Darfur was established to investigate human rights violations and atrocity crimes in South Sudan. We call for a similar action to obtain further evidence of atrocity crimes in DRC against the identified targeted minority, following the early warning signs established by the Office on Genocide Prevention, the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and the group of experts on DRC in 2022-2023. We must stop turning a blind eye to these crimes against humanity, the long-lasting persistent human rights violations in the Congo, the colossal refugee crisis, the sexual violence epidemic, as well as the irreversible environment degradation. Because we're not addressing the root causes of atrocity crimes committed today in Eastern Congo, because we have not disarmed the genocidal groups that have become more powerful in the region and around the world, because we have not brought to justice hundreds of thousands of those responsible of killings, rapes, and human rights violations, because we're not educating our children around the world about the dangers of genocide, genocide denial, misinformation, and hate speech, we are all at risk. When our own citizens sitting here in this room and their families trapped in an open-air concentration camp in Eastern DRC in imminent risk of extermination are direct and tangible victims of genocide ideology, we all are victims of the genocide ideology epidemic. We must therefore take action and stop the genocide against the Banyamulenge, the Hema, and the Congolese Tutsi. We must let our domestic and international representatives who serve our interests know that inaction and impunity is not an acceptable alternative and that a genocide will not happen under our watch. Thank you.